BBC News at midday. Labour's Deputy Leader Angela Rayner has accused Boris Johnson of being a coward after his surprise announcement last night that he was standing down as an MP. The former Prime Minister claimed he'd been forced out after having a first look at the findings of the Commons Privileges Committee into whether he intentionally misled Parliament over COVID lockdown parties at Downing Street. The committee, which is led by a Labour MP but has a Conservative majority, said it had followed procedures at all times and would publish its full report promptly. Ms Rayner said Mr Johnson had let down the public in the most devastating way at a time they needed him the most.
He basically was partying and lying to them at a time when they couldn't see their loved ones. And that's unforgivable. And the fact that he cannot recognise the damage that he's done, and he's tried to stuff the Lords with people that propped him up and helped him and assisted him at that time, shows us that actually he had no respect for the British public. It was all about Boris, and it's always been all about Boris to him.
The chairman of the campaign group, the Conservative Democratic Organisation, David Campbell-Bannerman, said Boris Johnson had been treated very unfairly.
It's completely wrong. It's outrageous. The public know this is a stitch-up, and it's outrageous. But Boris is not finished. He can stand in the by-election. I hope, actually, personally, I've not spoken to him on this, but he might stand as an independent Conservative in mid-bed, say, the by-election. There'll be other by-elections as well.
The Liberal Democrat leader Sir Ed Davey has ruled out a pact with Labour to encourage tactical voting to win Conservative seats in the by-elections triggered by the resignation of Boris Johnson and his close ally Nadine Dorries yesterday. Sir Ed told the BBC there should be a general election instead. Donald Trump is to address 2 Republican Party conventions later today after becoming the first former president ever to face federal criminal charges. He's been indicted on 37 counts over his handling of classified documents after he left office. Senior Democrats in the US Congress have urged Mr Trump's supporters to allow the case to go ahead peacefully. The President of Colombia has called it a magical day after the rescue of 4 children who'd been in a plane crash in the Amazon forest more than a month ago. The indigenous siblings, aged 1, 4, 9 and 13, became the focus of a huge search when signs of their survival were found. Their mother was killed along with the pilot and co-pilot when their small plane came down. The children's grandmother, Maria Fatima Valencia, said that finding them alive had given her comfort.
I have recovered from the pain of losing my daughter. After this suffering, I will encourage my grandchildren to move on. I need them here. I want to hug my 4 grandchildren.
Ukrainian officials say 3 people have died and 26 others were injured after falling debris from a Russian drone started a fire in a residential block when it was shot down in Odessa. A pregnant woman and 2 children are said to be among those hurt. The Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is visiting Kyiv in a gesture of support for Ukraine. In football, Manchester City are bidding to win the Champions League for the first time when they take on Inter Milan in Istanbul this evening. They've already won the Premier League and the FA Cup this season, so a win in Turkey would mean a rare treble. Dean Braithwaite, who's a football coach and Man City fan, thinks they can do it.
The last ones that done it in United, they finished 4th the season before, so we've got a lot of history to make tonight, and I'm sure the boys will be out there ready to prove it all, and it's going to be some experience, that's for sure.
Saudi Arabia's Camel Sports Federation says this year's Camel Racing Festival will be the biggest ever. The event will take place over 38 days from the start of August, with just under 600 races, a record.